They was not scared of Suge Knight. They was terrified.
Like, was somebody from the barbershop like punch you and knock you out after that? Like, you be knocked out like from the guy from the barbershop do that? It changed, and they be like, Suge's outside, and everybody be like, yeah.
What do you want?
Eminem and 50 Cent have made a significant impact on the music scene, sending a pointed message directly at Suge Knight. Their recent revelations have caused many to reevaluate what we thought we knew about their long-standing feud and the nature of their loyalties. The two artists continue to harbor strong resentment towards Suge due to his treatment of some of their closest allies. For those unfamiliar with the backstory, let's quickly recap. This conflict isn't recent. Eminem and 50 Cent stepped into this tension the moment they aligned with Dr. Dre. That connection immediately placed them in opposition to Suge Knight, born Marion Hugh Knight Jr.
Well, I don't lead by money. I've never let money lead my life.
I was walking to his seat, I'm standing up to the side, and M was cut off on his way to his seat, and all these guys in red shirts surrounded him. And I'm looking at M's face, and I'm looking at these guys. I'm like, something ain't right. So I start making my way around to come up the aisle, and next thing I know, you see all these guys talking about death row, death row. I was like, death row, what does it got to do with him? He said, hey man, Suge sent him a message. I say, oh, yeah.
Suge began his career in security, working for big names like Bobby Brown, but it quickly became evident to him that real influence wasn't on stage, it was behind the scenes. In 1991, he joined forces with Dr. Dre and Dick Griffey to establish what would become one of rap's most powerful entities.
Well, in 1999 at the Source Awards, Suge Knight sent his henchmen, man.
And the Source Award for Best Performance goes to...
Who's the winner?
Where my dogs at?
DMX! Why DMX!
That entity was Death Row Records. When Dr. Dre released The Chronic in 1992, it transformed the music industry. Following that, Snoop Dogg's Doggy Style in 1993 dominated the charts. The label's influence surged further when Tupac signed on, cementing Death Row's legacy. It wasn't just a label, it was a movement. They controlled the sound, the culture, the finances, and had a commanding presence on the streets. Yet, behind the success was a darker reality. Suge didn't just lead Death Row, he controlled it with relentless authority.
After that, we got out of there. We called the limo. This is where it gets up. We called the limo. Death Row is still sitting out there waiting for us. The limo's pulling off as we're coming out. Death Row's behind us. It was like, this motherfucker's trying to kill us, man. What they trying to do? What do they want?
M's ready to swing on someone if he has to.
Yeah, man. You know, like I said, he ain't no. You know, we were all going out. We were supposed to be on vacation and having a good time with our family and kids and wives. You know, and just parlaying, man. As the plane land, they open the door up, and you got Honolulu police standing right there talking about, hey, y'all got to come with us. And it was about 20 officers, man. Say, hey, you guys got to come with us. Death Row Records is here, and they wreaking havoc.
There are even claims that Suge forced Vanilla Ice to give up his royalties under pressure. And that's just one example. Numerous stories paint a disturbing picture. Allegations that artists were forced to undress in his office over trivial matters that could have been settled with a basic discussion. Fear and dominance were the foundation of the label's operation. If Suge gave an order, it was followed, no exceptions. By 1996, Dr. Dre had reached his limit. He didn't just leave, he forfeited all his royalties and gave up his 50% ownership of Death Row simply to walk away. That's how desperate he was for a fresh start. He sacrificed millions to build Aftermath Records from the ground up. However, Suge wasn't ready to move on. Feeling betrayed, he made it his goal to block Dre's success at every turn.
One cassette tape changed everything. While digging through demos with Jimmy Iovine, Dre heard something that made him go,
What the fuck and who the fuck that?
The voice belonged to Eminem, a young rapper from Detroit struggling to make ends meet. Raised by a single mother, Eminem had faced poverty, bullying, and hardship. But those struggles fueled his fire. In Detroit's underground rap scene, Eminem worked relentlessly to prove himself.
M had inherited Dr. Dre's beef by signing with Dre.
then began to do everything he could to discredit both Dre and Eminem.
What do you think of Eminem? Is that what do you think of white rap?
If you really from the ghetto and you really doing those things you rapping about, you talking about, I can respect that.
Right.
But if somebody else writing your rhymes, somebody else, is you telling somebody else's story, that really don't mean that.
For a time, it seemed Suge might succeed. Aftermath's early projects didn't perform as expected, and talk circulated that Dre might have lost his edge. Suge, meanwhile, appeared content to observe it all unfold, doing little but watching. But just when many thought Dre's career might be over, he made an unexpected move. He signed a driven young artist from Detroit, someone with raw talent and passion, Eminem. When the Slim Shady LP hit the market, it disrupted everything. Eminem burst into the industry with intensity, authenticity, and a voice that couldn't be ignored, leaving the entire music world in shock.
Dr. Dre left first, Pac died. All of those things kept us at number one. The music changed. The direction changed.
After Tupac's death, Suge Knight landed in prison, and Snoop Dogg became yet another challenge for him, much like Dr. Dre had been. Snoop chose not to engage in the East Coast versus West Coast rivalry and maintained ties with individuals Suge viewed as adversaries, which caused further strain. Their relationship deteriorated quickly. Upset by Snoop's refusal to align with him, Suge reportedly even made threats against his life. During this time, Eminem won 3 Grammys, and Dr. Dre had reclaimed his position at the top of the industry. Suge couldn't ignore this shift. He began making moves again, not just against Dre this time, but against Eminem as well. Several media outlets reported that Suge was taking calculated steps behind the scenes, driven by a clear objective. By 1999, the tension reached a public stage during an award ceremony. Eminem was simply making his way to the platform, expecting a standard appearance. Suddenly, members of Suge's crew appeared, wearing red shirts and creating a disturbance. They circled Eminem, loudly chanting "Death Row" to provoke a reaction. But Eminem stayed composed. He calmly continued, presented the award to DMX, and returned to his seat, unfazed. Even outside the venue, Suge's team wasn't done. They surrounded Eminem's limousine, as if they were ready for confrontation. Yet, having endured a difficult upbringing, Eminem wasn't rattled by the theatrics. Suge, on the other hand, never fully moved on. Each time Eminem made waves in the industry, Suge found ways to dismiss his rise, either through interviews or indirect actions. He often claimed Eminem lacked authenticity, insisting he wasn't truly from the streets and was simply performing a role. But Suge wasn't just criticizing him in public. That same year, during a Death Row reunion party in Hawaii, Suge reportedly decided to take action. The event, attended by Dre, Snoop, Eminem, and their families, was intended to be a laid-back gathering. However, Suge allegedly sent his team across the area, making it appear as if they were preparing for trouble. They weren't there just to socialize. The atmosphere quickly turned tense. Word reached Dre and the others, prompting them to increase security and even involve local authorities to ensure safety. In 2002, a major shift occurred. Eminem listened to 50 Cent's mixtape Guess Who's Back and immediately saw promise. He shared it with Dre, and together, they decided to bring 50 Cent into their circle. Signing him to Shady and Aftermath marked the beginning of a new chapter. When Get Rich or Die Tryin' launched on February 6, 2003, it was a breakthrough moment. The album debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200 and sold over 872,000 copies in its first week. 50 Cent had clearly arrived. However, entering Dre and Eminem's world also meant inheriting their unresolved disputes, especially with Suge Knight, who hadn't stepped out of the picture. According to reports, Suge once again leaned on old intimidation tactics. During the filming of one of 50 Cent's music videos at the Dock Club, Suge allegedly appeared with around 30 individuals, many of whom carried a reputation. The atmosphere shifted immediately. Most people left the set to avoid any trouble, but 50 Cent didn't retreat. He held his ground, looked Suge in the eye, and calmly confronted him. That simple act sent a strong message. Realizing his usual approach wouldn't work this time, Suge quietly left without escalating the situation. Just when things seemed to be settling down, Eminem stirred the pot again with a major surprise. An unreleased diss track titled Smack leaked, and it was clear, Eminem wasn't pulling any punches. He didn't just take aim at Suge Knight, he also went in hard on Ja Rule. But what really set the internet on fire were the serious accusations. Eminem directly pointed fingers at Suge. holding him responsible for the deaths of Tupac and Biggie. He rapped, "I'm holding Suge responsible for the deaths of the two greatest rappers to ever grace the face of this planet. If only the late great Mr. Christopher Wallace could talk, he could tell you himself." He didn't stop there, adding, "I'm holding Suge responsible for the death of J. Rule or anyone else down with Death Row." The track shook the hip-hop scene. It didn't quietly fade after leaking. It brought long-standing rivalries right back into the spotlight. So far, Suge Knight hasn't responded publicly, but the internet caught fire almost immediately. Discussions spread like wildfire, and the tension became hard to ignore. With smack making the rounds, J. Rule also found himself pulled into the spotlight again. He wasn't going to stay silent. Reports suggest that he started firing verbal shots at Eminem and 50 Cent during interviews, trying to frame them as industry-manufactured and lacking authenticity. But 50 Cent was quick to react. He responded with multiple diss tracks, calling Ja out directly on tracks like Back Down. The jabs were blunt and unapologetic, and fans couldn't get enough. With every bar, 50 made it crystal clear he wasn't afraid of confrontation, not from Suge, Ja, or anyone else. All the while, Suge kept a low profile, still projecting an image of control without visibly getting involved. Behind the scenes, however, rumors suggested he was working to undercut Dre, Eminem, and 50 in subtle ways. But none of that slowed the movement. Shady Aftermath was dominating, racking up massive album sales, securing radio play, and filling out venues across the country. Their momentum was undeniable. Still, safety remained a concern. Insiders revealed that both Eminem and 50 Cent always traveled with tight security, bulletproof vehicles, armed bodyguards, the works. They understood that old rivalries, especially with someone like Suge Knight involved, could still pose a threat. As Shady Aftermath soared, the tension never fully went away. Everyone in the industry knew how high the stakes were. Online, fans weighed in with bold takes. One comment read, "I'm no expert on street politics, but people often say the white rappers go the hardest because they feel the need to prove themselves." Another user added, "What 50 did to the bully is exactly what you should do. Stand tall and don't flinch. Bullies feed on fear." This mindset might explain the strong connection between Eminem and 50 Cent from the beginning. Fearless energy, standing strong, and refusing to back down. Someone else noted, "Suge was never really about the music. It was always about control." And honestly, that sentiment still seems to ring true today. Now, there's a major debate circulating online. Should Eminem have dropped Smack sooner? Could the impact have been even greater if it was released at the height of the drama? It's an interesting discussion, and this story clearly runs deeper than many expected. If you like this breakdown, be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. I want to hear your thoughts. Was Smack released at the right time? Or did Eminem miss an opportunity? Let me know down in the comments. See you in the next one.